Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Adventurers Pack, and welcome to a very special episode of Melos Machina. You may have noticed from the title, today is not episode 23. Today is, in fact, a Q&A with the cast of Melos Machina, as well as some discussion as to the future of Dungeons & Dragons. Well, let's go ahead and say hello to these fine people. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Joining us tonight, we've got Z, who plays Andy.
Hi.
We have Josh, who plays Finn.
Hello, folks.
We have Ben, who plays Icon.
Howdy, howdy.
And we've got Emmy, who plays Duati.
Hello.
So as you can see, we have a little bit of a different schedule tonight. We are going to be doing a bit of a round table, talking about our characters, talking about our experience, and also having a bit of a Q&A allowed from the audience as well. So if you have any questions that have been burning holes in your brain pockets, then feel free to pop them into the chat, and we will do our best to get to them. We don't have any redemptions for anything like that. Additionally, yes, with pets as well.
His face, like,
cast Find Familiar.
when you were petting him and his face was like,
Before we get started, one thing that I am going to say is this is the disclaimer right now of potential spoilers. If you are not fully caught up with Melos Machina, now might be a good time to go do that. You can do that on YouTube and find all the episodes. We are going to be discussing things up until episode 22. This is also that disclaimer that we are going to be avoiding spoilers that have not shown up in the episodes yet. So things that our characters have not talked about are not going to be talked about on camera. I am saying this here and now so that we don't say it 80 times throughout the episode. But before we get started with this, we do have some messages from our sponsors. Ben, take it away.
Hello. Hi. Welcome to my side of the world over here. Yes, I want to quickly say thank you to our sponsors for Melos Machina. First, starting with our continuing sponsor of Melos Machina, Cantrip Candles. Cantrip Candles are candles made with a story. They are hand-poured in Los Angeles. They are amazing soy-based candles that are meant to inspire and immerse your players in any tabletop role-playing game or just hanging out. I'm currently burning Magica Potion. Ooh, smells very good. It has notes of dragon's blood and lavender and lemon verbena. So it's quite relaxing on a night as of tonight. So please check out our lovely sponsor at cantripcandles.com, and you can use our code APAC, that's APACK, at checkout for 10% off of your order. And yeah, keep smelling good smells. I think, Z, you're burning one right now too.
I have Greater Healing Potion burning
it looks
right
so
now.
tiny in your little
Nice.
finger.
I know.
It's like holding it up.
It's a little baby candle. Actually, big candle, big boy candle.
Good boy.
Boy candle. I needed a little pick-me-up, a little energy. So lots of citrus going.
Love it. Love it.
We have one burning in the studio too, but no one can see it. It's hidden.
I know. We can. Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So now, for our other sponsor, last week we had the pleasure of having Dispel Dice. They are makers of sharp edge dice, other gaming accessories, and apparel. And yeah, we have our dice for our characters. We talked a little bit about them on stream, or I guess after stream last week.
This is for
But
you,
you can
Z.
go to dispeldice.com and grab your own set, or you can return next week for Melos Machina, where we will be giving away one of, not these sets, but a set of dice to you all. It is limited to the United States, folks. However, it's is awesome. Anybody can win. We absolutely love our dice. And if you've been checking out our socials, you'll see that we've been posting little snippets of our characters and why we chose the dice sets that we chose. So again, go check them out at dispeldice.com. There should be a link going through chat periodically tonight. So thank you so much to both Cantrip Candles and Dispel Dice. Scott.
Yay!
All right.
So it does say
God's
on the bottom
holding
of the
my
box
dice
not to eat them.
hostage.
I'm not holding your dice hostage. I am holding them with care and love and respect and.
Hostage.
No.
I was gonna give them to you today, because we did pretty photography of them.
Yes, all the pictures being taken, which you can see on our social medias, and you can hear about why we chose these. But actually, that being said, I think that this would be a fantastic segue into everything that we're going to be talking about. Some of the choices that we made in getting to pick out these dice. I know. So we, as you have now heard, we had the chance to actually choose which dice we were going to be receiving from Dispo. It was very generous of them. And I know for many of us, a lot of thought went into them. And also, for a lot of us, it had to do with our characters, theming of the story. And why don't we just take a moment? We did a little bit of it in the social medias that we posted, but why don't we have a nice little discussion of some of these choices that we made? Ben, why don't we start some things off with you?
Who, me?
Yes.
I love talking about my character and my choices. So I know this is going to be kind of small on camera, but I chose this set, which is Petal Storm. The pictures will do much better justice than that, but they
do.
are stunning clear resin with tiny little rose buds in them, and then wisps of white resin and glitter in there. And if you've looked at Icon's art, you will notice that, and if you've been watching the last 20 or so episodes, there've been some little snippets of rose thematic, what do you call that? Iconography. Iconography!
Iconography! Love it.
He's just got a giant rose on his chest. That's it.
Yeah, just
Certainly
a giant
nothing.
rose on his chest.
Nothing more to that.
No, nothing more to that. Yeah, so getting them in person, they fit him even more than I expected them to. So, yeah, now they just need to roll better than my other dice. So.
Josh, how about you? Do we have any thoughts going into the Finn with these dice? Was it kind of a...
Yeah. So my dice video went up today. So if you want a closer look at these bad boys, you can find them on all the social medias and on YouTube. You will notice that the red from my character art does not make an appearance in the dice. So I didn't really pick the dice just for my wardrobe or for my character art specifically. Black and gold are a very big theme in my artwork, but those hints of red are replaced by purple in the dice. That is more of a thematic choice. There's a lot of mysteries of magic and of what the song might be that Finn wants to entail, and to him that's a swirling mystery of kind of those deep blacks and purples. And as he sheds light on those, the inner workings of things, those are the bits of gold that fleck through the purple. It does tie to the gold on Finn's clothing, which is a point of pride for him. But I felt like it was a great compromise between theme and art style.
Love it. That is fantastic. Z, how about you? What, do we see any hints of Andy in your dice choice?
Definitely, yeah. No, like secret hints or anything like that. I went kind of a little bit more obvious and blatant. I for uh most of my dice for Andy kind of went for like yellows and blues, just because those are her colors. But so I found these, and they had the beautiful orange
Ooh.
to them, as well as the blue, and with the copper flecks, it kind of
Mm.
gave a little like feel of the tinkerer, um and yeah, I don't know, they just feel like her essence, or the Nova blossoms. I don't know if I said that, but Dot has them.
I gave a little show
They're
off to the
really-
camera.
They're really beautiful, like even more beautiful in person than the photo, so I'm very, very happy.
And what about you, Emmy? What do we see in your dice? Possibly the most colorful of everyone's, which I think is such.
You gotta.
Counter.
So I debated really, really hard on my choice for dice. Obviously, like you'll see them in my video. But I chose a set of dice. You can look them up online, called the Witch's Familiar. And I took some really beautiful shots of them for the social medias. They'll be coming up here soon with some really beautiful details. A lot of Duathi's dice are also monochromatic because she is. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it was actually that these have a little mouse in them, is why I chose them. There's a little mouse going through a whole bunch of flowers and just like hanging out and enjoying the scenery and just being a little guy hanging out. And just something about it just reminded me of this mouse, reminded me of Duathi. And also, this has come up a little bit in campaign. One of Duathi's favorite colors is orange, and these are a very pretty orange, yellow, golden sort of color. And so I thought it would be really cute to have one that is some of Duathi's favorite things, with also a little guy just doing little guy stuff. So
They're really cute.
Little guy doing little guy stuff.
Oh,
the Duathi story.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
I
It's
gotta say,
really cute.
Emmy's dice are some of the most unique I've ever seen because of the like painted on mouse. But I can Ben's dice are like gorgeous, and the way they got the flower embedded, I've never seen anything like it. So two very
Yeah.
very unique sets of dice on that side of the table.
They're
Really, really cool.
all of us got really spoiled with the ones we picked.
Yeah.
They're really beautiful.
We did, we did.
Which I guess we should take it over to the last person who hasn't talked
Yeah.
about their
What
dice
about
yet.
you, Scott?
Oh,
Yeah, Scott.
the last person you mean RJ and
Oh,
who RJ's video is up on social media. Clearly, RJ is not with us here tonight. We hope that he is doing well, and will be rejoining us next week for our next show. But you can go check out on social media, see the dice that RJ picked
they're
out.
called Promise of Tomorrow.
Promise of Tomorrow,
They are
which
also gorgeous.
Gorge.
what a beautiful name for a set of dice that exist in this world.
Yeah.
And for a divination wizard,
right?
on point.
Yeah.
No, it was a really good call.
And the blues really match his like the blue and orange really match very well.
So
Yeah.
I personally chose the Fall from Grace set, which has some fantastic, lots of gold. I see we had a theme with a lot of the gold flaking choices in here. But this set also has swirls of gray mist inside of it, which contrasts with the brilliance of the gold really well. And I didn't know it at the time, but upon receiving it, also there are hints of glitter inside of it, which sparkle in an entire multitude of colors. And just seeing the gold and the mist in it, I thought that they felt perfect for the feel of Melos. Obviously, the name, the like the name of the cataclysm has come up a few times, and you know this veil, and I thought it felt very appropriate for a combination of what was, what could be, and what will be, all put together in one stunning set of dice.
Scott,
Beautiful.
Scott, can I throw you under the good guy bus?
Sure.
Oh.
Uh,
So, last week when we first got these dice, Scott didn't want to roll these against us for their first roll. So
That's true.
he
Very
waited to roll them for the little stick guys.
The
And they
little
were
Pikmin.
cute.
Guys,
The little stick guys, though.
I love those guys. I can't wait to tell Corcoran about those guys.
Corcoran's gonna have little stick guy friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is one of my absolute favorites to portray just adorable little creatures. It's because of the reactions that you all give. It's so easy to be a cute little thing.
The way you embody them, Scott, just like the
It was really
like
cute.
it's so adorable.
Oh well.
It's too much.
I still worry that I hurt the one that I bloomed. I hope he's okay.
The one with all the leaves.
I hope he seems like he was fine with it.
He seemed thrilled. To be
He
honest.
seemed fine.
He did. He did.
It also is very, very funny to me, Scott, that you enjoy portraying cute little guys, considering how horrific a lot of the games we end up doing with you are.
Listen. I know I've built this reputation of being a dark, messed up GM, but I just think that it's really easy to do dark and to do messed up. It's why my little book of poetry in middle and high school was just all like super emo stuff, and definitely didn't get me pulled into the counselor's office.
I definitely did not have poems like that.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah.
I definitely don't have it like within arm's reach.
Dark and brooding is easy.
See, you say that though,
It's true.
Scott. Like, but also at a certain point, like, there's video evidence of you scaring the absolute ever-loving daylights out of us here on YouTube.
Yeah.
We have a
So
whole
true.
series.
I don't know if
It's
that
true.
was easy, which is
But
also
you-
why
you-
all of us during Melos are like,
I think that's what it is. It's those moments of adorableness just disarm us so thoroughly that when it comes around to those scary moments or the big betrayals, they're even sweeter and scarier.
Well, thank you. I will say, when creating Gladen for you all in this place that you were going to essentially have 24 hours, I was having a hard time, like, how can I make a potential just 24 hours interesting? And obviously we're still not gone from there. But one of the other things that I had a really hard time doing, but I was forcing myself to do, was to do my best to make some place that its goal was to just be relaxing. And present you with all of these options of a place that you had just gone through some horrible things, and how could I give you a place that, at least from as much as you have been able to tell right now, is a vacation stop.
you know, I've
Yeah.
been in many a campaign where this joke has been made, but it is the D&D B&B.
Yeah,
Just chilling.
it is.
It was, and it was sorely needed, I think, for a lot of our characters. At least for Finn. Finn really needed it. I think he hasn't had a day this good in a long time, at least up until the point that we found ourselves in yet another cave.
And
But
almost died.
I was thinking about this over the week off. It's amazing how a single day in a place like this, we can spend 3 episodes in morning, midday, and presumably night. We'll see what happens at nighttime. Maybe it'll be more, but kind of great to be able to stretch out this like relaxing period and keep it interesting for a little mini arc. You're doing a great job with this, Scott.
And definitely compared to the some of the time that we spent in Riversmeet, where 3 days went by in half a session.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, time. It's wibbly wobbly and all sorts of weird.
You never know. Yeah,
It's
Gladen
also
is
providing
really...
us. It's really nice.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go. The internet,
Oh,
the
I was just saying,
delays.
like, it's so special and beautiful, and I wish we had more time there. I just keep thinking of all the things that, like, I want to do, and I'm like, there's no time. We just have the evening, and then we have to be back on a stupid boat the next day. And, that's Andy talking. But... yeah, it's such a special place, and I can't wait for us to go back.
Yeah, and this is a great thing about games like this. All the choices are yours.
We retire now.
We could just stay. We could just stay.
I'm good at being level
just live
3
there
or
now.
level 4. That's fine.
Well, so let's take this from now. The most recent things that we've seen. Let's bring this way back to the beginning. So now we're 22 sessions in. Level 4. So only one level up so far throughout the campaign.
Yeah.
See.
This is both I think the benefits and the problems with milestone leveling. I'm waiting for a good milestone and feeling when it's appropriate, and letting you all have some time to really get to know the level that you're in. But
Aiken almost dying, not a big enough milestone.
Yeah, that doesn't feel...
Hey, we chose to work on our vacation. I think that's a pretty big growth.
Yeah.
Well,
Gross.
so my one of the biggest questions that I want to ask you all is, now having spent time in this world and gotten to live in it, less about the world but more about you and your characters. Have you experienced any surprises, anything that you weren't expecting this character that you were bringing to the table that suddenly manifested itself?
Every session. I mean,
Yeah.
it's... When I make a character, I definitely start with a small nugget of an idea, a theme, maybe some key points of things that I want to bring out, key personality traits. But so much of their growth happens in the game. So much of who they are becomes apparent only when it's pushed up against by other characters and when pushed against dire situations. So for me, Aiken has gone through so much life over the last 22 sessions that I don't think I expected to go through. And so like the very last session, that was one where he's been having feelings,
Yeah.
for sure. But the feelings towards his companions have changed a lot over the last few weeks in ways that are surprising to me and to him, for sure. But also just every little new reveal about this world is a little morsel of surprise. So it's just been so yummy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump off that. I think a major theme for Finn as a character, as a person, this whole campaign has been just continually being surprised by what's beyond the walls. So I don't think I need to get too deep in the weeds with that. I mean, he's a sheltered city boy with lots of ideas about the world that mostly come from books and reading and stories, and every session, every person we meet, every town we go to, every interaction is not what he would have expected. But then me as a player, it's very similar to Ben. Like having my character thrown off guard like that in universe is throwing me off guard as well, which is lovely. It's really great because, like you were saying, Ben, the character just evolves along with the story, and like no matter what preconceptions I had about who Finn was and where he was going and what he was going to be, like, well, now that's out of my hands and it's in the rest of your hands, which is so great. It's the collaborative aspect of storytelling. Really cool to see how he's evolved. The biggest surprise for me is how much he's grown to love all of you guys and how quickly that happened. Having been a loner by choice for most of the time leading up to the campaign, and immediately thrown off guard by not only needing other people, but liking them. And that's been really great.
No.
We all love making that like super loner, doesn't want to talk to anyone, and then suddenly there's a bunch of people at the table.
It's not that I set out to create a loner necessarily, because as a richer kid with lots of upbringing around important people and having gone through school and all of that, like, it's not that he's not social, it's that he doesn't prefer to socialize. He'd prefer to be in the books, in the writing. But really, I think that has a lot to do with he hasn't met a lot of people in his life that he connects with on any kind of real level. They're either older or, well, you are all older except for Andy, but they're either like, of a higher station, or his peers he's always kind of looked down on, I think, in a lot of ways. And now he's found peers that are up to his caliber, and that is a surprise for him, I think.
Fantastic. Z, Emmy, anything from either of you?
Yeah, I ditto to what both Josh and Ben already said. Like, so much changes as you go along, and I think similar to Finn, Andy, kind of by choice in what she enjoys doing, lives a very like loner lifestyle. So she's not used to, well, I guess she had a big family, so she's used to being around like people all the time, but not like people that aren't her family all the time. So this is all just very new and different. She went from small town to big city to being sent on this adventure and being thrown into a group of people. And so, yeah, I feel like this is the most intense I've ever gotten a backstory for a character, and you just have to live with the fact that some of that just goes out the window as you're going along, and you just have to rework stuff as you go on. But I don't know, I've enjoyed playing Andy because I think there's a lot of myself in her, but she's also very different from me. So it's been a fun journey, and kind of like we always said, it's been fun kind of falling in love with your friends all over again, it's really fun to like meet new friends that are the same friends, and like finding what you like about them, what bugs you about them, like all those fun things that just come with friendship.
Oh, that was lovely. Hi. Hello.
So that's on me. I'm trying to think how to put it. I had absolutely no idea what was going to happen when I came to the table. So I don't want to sound like too silly when I say literally everything has been a surprise, but that was kind of how I designed the character. Was around being surprised a lot. So I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea how anyone was going to react to what I brought. And it has been a really weird and wild adrenaline ride figuring out how people are reacting to Dewati. And it could be stressful in the fun way where I'm constantly like, I have no idea what's going to happen right now. And I have no idea how people are going to react to anything I say or do all the time. And I know that that's true in general of life, but like with Dewati, it's excessively true. And so it's really fun, but also it's been very interesting. And I couldn't have predicted, nor would I have wanted to try to predict how people are reacting to whatever it is that Dewati is doing at any given moment in time. So it's been nice. It's been nice to just kind of be pure, I want to do a thing, I'm then going to do the thing energy. Has been really, really fun. But yeah,
I have a question about Dewati in that respect, Emmy. I would argue Dewati has a lot of very adorable moments with the group, and I was curious if like that is just a side effect of what you built, or if that is something that you like anticipated. I know you're saying you didn't anticipate anything, but
yeah, it's hard to say because Dewati was always built to be adorable. Like Dewati was always built to be excited and very interested in whatever was going on and interested in other people and deeply curious and a person who very much enjoys life and all that it has to offer at any given time. So I had a feeling that people would respond to Dewati as though she was adorable because she is. And so that has been a delight for me and an absolute treat, but also what people do with something that's that adorable and that full of just, oh, shiny, and just walk towards it and pick it up. It can be very different. And so
it's true.
And since Dewati is has very little knowledge of anything that's going on at any given time, and all of you everyone else has a lot of knowledge on what's happening at any given time, and so I was like, I have no idea how people are going to react with all of these questions. I did not realize how much Dewati was just going to be wandering around pestering all of you with questions. That's been fun.
I love it. So does Finn, personally.
Love it too.
So.
I was gonna say, I think the thing that I find the most fascinating about Dewati is like she's so open with her big, happy, curious emotions, but the deep, sad emotions shuts down immediately. And that dichotomy is just so interesting. And the, first meeting Dewati and being like, oh my god, precious little angel must protect at all costs. But Dewati is a badass and can definitely, hold her own. So
Dewati's
there's
fine.
nothing to worry about. there.
Well, and similar to
But-
Scott, the adorableness makes those moments where Dwathi gets intense so much scarier. So much scarier.
Powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I and I definitely want to keep going around, like, talk to all of you about some more of this, like, without saying more about stuff, but I definitely wanted to create a character of extremes, and so that was part of the goal. I usually build stuff that's very different from the last thing that I did. So if we're thinking about the last thing that I did being Fess,
Very
so very
Yeah.
different. But I also, and I didn't realize this as much at the time, but as far as the storage structure of Melos has gone, I also think that it's been really, really fun for me at the very least, because Scott obviously gave an intro and talked about the world and gave a big speech at the beginning of episode 1 talking about what the world was like, but Scott didn't release, very much on purpose, I'm sure, like, this is an encyclopedia of the world. Have fun. It's a completely homebrew world, and it's new and vibrant and different. And Scott manufactured so many details about the history of the world, and I am here to both be. I feel as though I've been placed in a position where I get to ask all of you to explain that plot to everyone, which has been very fun.
It is like a built-in plot device. Almost,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like, anytime we need to add some exposition, it's like Dwathi's like, so what about this?
Yeah, I'm there to prompt you
No,
for the
truly.
exposition. That's my job.
Yeah, like we.
That's
we
what
got
I do.
Some information about the lore of the world, but it's not like we got an encyclopedia like full of knowledge. Like there's so
No.
much that we don't know, and I
Yeah.
feel like we're learning along with Duavi.
Yeah.
So it's very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know
I-
Scott does this on purpose, where he drops the information that, like, and I know so Scott had, for those of you in the audience, Scott had lots of meetings with all of us individually. And this was true of me, and I'm 100% certain it's true of you, that he told you what you do know, and sometimes told you you don't know that.
Less often. Pretty
Less
rare on the you wouldn't know this.
But-
We're,
Yeah, but it did happen. Like, I'm
It did,
sure at
yeah.
some point, or like, yeah, I don't have this information for you. So like,
and that's something all of us have to parse as role players at the table, especially like when a private conversation happens between two characters, and us as players, we're sitting right across from it, but we weren't there to witness it as our character.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
being able to parse, like, okay, what does my character know versus like what is just general knowledge that I don't have, it's difficult, but it's also I think really reinforces who your character is.
yeah,
But yeah,
and
those meetings with Scott were
they're fun and intense. And I also know Scott has probably given all of us a puzzle piece that we don't know is a puzzle piece, which is I didn't. And I guess going back to things that are kind of surprising a little bit, that I think has been a thing that I did not realize was necessarily going to happen, is that I built this character who is going to, I think, very unintentionally be puzzle piecing, because I'm asking all of you questions all the time. So
Well, I mean, I think part of that's the nature of a homebrew world,
Mhm.
right? Is like not just us as characters, but us as people are puzzle piecing things together. So there's not a source book where we can be like, oh,
Well,
let me go to page 52 of the DMG or whatever, like to get information from. We can't get any spoilers because we haven't been there yet, you know, like we haven't experienced it yet.
And,
Yeah.
and especially because also, yeah, from the perspective also, we do this for you, the audience. Hello.
Mhm.
Also, I think it's very fun that y'all are getting to figure out a lot of this with us.
Mhm.
And I don't know,
Yeah.
this is just me as a writer and as an enjoyer of art. I personally love getting dropped in media race in the middle of it and not necessarily being given all the details of the world. And so that's also a thing that I'm very aware of, and I think is a really fun device that Scott has chosen
Totally.
for this universe as a show. Is that also it's a mystery, and it's very exciting.
Scott, I want to put you on the spot for a second.
Okay.
How does it feel? Because I know this is not your first time with this world existing. You've been working on this for 20 years. But now 22 episodes in, with us populating this world, how does it feel for you? And have there been any surprises for you with how the world has butted up against us and also enveloped us, if that makes sense? Like, what's your perspective, oh God?
Yeah.
Tell us, universe, what do you think of yourself?
It is really, it's wonderful to see it unfold and to see it play out. And for anyone watching who might be thinking like, oh, DMs get everything perfect and DMs have everything absolutely planned out, like, I'll admit I'm terrified, absolutely terrified every time that we unfold more of the world, because there is that part of me that's like everything has to be perfect, but I've had to shove that aside for so many years now. It's never gone away. I just find different ways to tell it to shut up, because the way that I world build and create, and I think the reason that most of the storytelling that I do finds its way, or its avenue best in Dungeons and Dragons or role-playing games, is I love building structure and form, but essentially creating a jungle gym for then people to also add to and populate and contribute. Very much a collaborative storytelling. I don't think I could sit down and write this as a book, because I don't enjoy, or I find I have a hard time writing dialogue, but I have a great time sitting here and having a dialogue.
Well said.
I have absolutely had some surprises.
You tell.
I mean, Gladen, so much of that was constructed as it was populated as you were on your way towards it. It's not as though, a year and a half ago I wrote the town of Gladen and here's all the NPCs in there. I knew, here's the massive towns, and here's all the things that exist in those massive towns, and here are small towns along the way. And when you were traveling, it's like, well, I know that this town is Gladen. I know that it's a rest stop along the way. Wyland's Wait House was, very much there and existed as a place to just hang out. And the moment that I knew that you were going to be traveling in that direction and you were going to pass it, I realized they might go there. They very well will likely go there. So a lot of, again, the meat of Gladen started existing within the time that we started streaming. But the form of Gladen has existed for years. A lot of it is built out of necessity, I think, for me, of here's this structure. I know it has to be formed now. Focus on forming that. But it's questions that I don't think I ever would have asked without having players at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Really well said. Scott, I don't want to pull back the curtain too far, so I'm not going to share specifically what the detail was unless you want to share. But I remember a couple times during the character creation process, during our dialogues about how Finn might fit into this world. Even then, some of those big world details were kind of shifting into place for you still. Specifically, kind of like how the lore keepers fit into the greater thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to go there, but it's amazing how, at least in my experience, like building Finn wasn't just making a character. It wasn't just slapping a persona onto a class. It was really like it felt like a full-on character development process. This similar to what you would do in a writer's room, and to not only feel like, wow, I really understand how my character fits in the world, but then to feel you kind of like forming the world around Finn's place in it as well. That was so rewarding. That's what sticks to me the most.
Yeah.
Well, and this is something else that I think is very, as you say, it is rewarding in this style of world building where it is so collaborative. The conversations that we had in character creation, I feel like, especially with Melos, I was more, I had put probably a few more constraints on options than I would of other settings, specifically because of timelines and specific lore within the greater world. But as soon as we had the conversation of what are you thinking you want to play, and it is that back and forth of, oh, that's really interesting. Now how can we take that and have it be part of this in a way that is so much more meaningful than just like, I'm a wizard who happens to hang out in one of the major towns. Like how can we take this character that you want to create and want to embody and have it be an important part of this world, not necessarily we are part of the aristocracy, or we are part of the rulers of this, or we are going to be the thing that changes the world, because that's what later levels are for. That's what adventuring parties strive to be. The reason that we have these stories are these are characters who are going to change things. These are characters who are going to have significant impacts on things. And so having it be important from the start without being already over, and knowing about the world and what existed out there, and now what the lore keepers and the conservators do, as soon as both of you went, well, these are the characters we want to play, I said, awesome. Here's this thing that existed in one form in one of the past iterations of this world, but here's how it can really be this thing that is now much more connected. And talking about how this world's existed for 20 years and I've been working on it for 20 years, this is the first time that it's felt, for me, it's no longer felt sandboxy of me playing with things. Because now, and it might just be part of the fact that we're doing this as a show. We're doing this recorded. It's now out there, and the internet never forgets.
It's official canon now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so taking all of the experience and the knowledge that I had from everything that I had run up until this point and going, what would I have changed and what would I have done differently? This is now that moment to make those corrections. So I'm lucky enough to have had practice in this world, and also lucky enough to then have such rich characters and players to continue playing in it.
Beautiful.
Love it. I wanted to go off a thing you said a little bit earlier because I loved for me personally, I haven't been playing D&D as long as some of the rest of you have, so I'm still kind of dipping my feet and figuring stuff out. And I had told Scott at one point that I was interested in playing an artificer. And so when we kind of had our initial meeting and were being pulled aside to kind of be like, okay, do you have any character ideas? And I was like, I don't know. And Scott was like, you were interested in playing an artificer, right? Yeah, he was like, okay, there's a really great way that I can tie this into the world. And so yeah, having this whole like conservator thing and introducing me into it that way, it was just so cool and a really fun way to kind of figure out how to bring us this world. Words.
Yeah.
It was very, very great how everything lined up with the five of you, being able to have, two characters who are
Elves with sticks.
Elves with
Elves with
sticks.
sticks.
Two
Yeah.
characters who are doing their job, and essentially then the one character who at least brought the two doing their job to the same location,
But also to add on top of that, they're doing their job, but they've never done the job before, so they're
Yeah.
like totally thrown into this insane situation, being like, okay, we've had years of training, but like this is new and different.
First day on the job vibes, and we immediately get knocked down some pegs. So
Yeah, like immediately, even just with the how do you get a hold of the Adergog or the Order, and we're like, eh,
just
they
here doing a
teleported
thing.
us here? That's
didn't
all
think
we
to
know.
ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say it was a heck of an introduction to the organization as a whole. Like
Yeah.
for me and Duwathi, there was this sense of like they didn't give you a payphone, like they didn't give you like they didn't go down to the gas station and buy you one of those little cricket phones that you can just call home with.
Oh,
Like
no
they just
pay-as-you-go.
put you out here and we're like, shrugsies. It's like
there's just
Yeah.
there's a scroll of sending, but you have to pay 1 gold every minute, and
Oh.
Do you accept this collect call from
expensive.
Rivers Meat?
really quick to bring,
Don't call us. We'll call you.
That's how it feels.
yeah.
Yeah.
Bringing in some of the stuff from chat. We've got some speculation, opening with, hey, Scott, what's the name of... Well, of course, this is Jeff. Speaking for the PCs in the audience, what's the name of the big bad? Talking about, wait, we said no future reveals tonight. Gasp. What if you've already met them?
Betrayal.
Dr. Sada. It's already
Dr.
happened.
Sada.
Dr. Sada.
It's not
Spoiler.
No, no,
better
let
not
us
be
have one
Gwen.
nice thing, damn it.
Also, from Jeff, hey, Cast, if you want to level up, you know what you need to do? Do more stuff.
Wow,
I have done
thanks.
so much stuff.
Pro tip.
Hey, Jeff.
This close to
Hey,
running
Jack.
in the other room and bapping you.
Jeff, can we talk? Can we talk right here, please? Yeah.
Jeff. Get to
Not
Matt's
from
house.
Jeff, but Zagmeister saying, is this the first spin-off idea from Melos, Duwathi, the story of just being a little guy?
That I don't think that's a spin-off. I think
Yeah.
that's
It's
what we're
happening.
doing. That's the show.
Yeah.
That's my that's my motivation. Just being a little guy. No further motivation.
And
It's a special anime episode where there's no dialogue.
mhm.
It's just Duwathi as different wild shapes going
Yeah.
through life.
Be a little guy.
Is this our?
Talking at owls.
Is
You know
this-
what the episode's called? Do what they will.
Oh. Get out.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh,
I could kiss you right now, but
Look, I'm not in character. I can make puns. It's great.
a really quick reminder for anyone watching, if you do have any questions that you would like us to answer, if we are able to answer them, feel free to pop them into the chat. You are also welcome to use, actually I highly recommend using the highlight my message redemption in Twitch. That way I can go through and find those questions super easily.
But you're gonna find them, not I can.
Hey,
It's-
I can find them.
It's
You have
started.
no idea how many icon puns I've just like walked right past as Finn.
listen, passive perception of 20 now. I can find anything.
Yes, you can.
Also, may I just say, from behind the DM screen, I love you all. I love all of your characters. Having an Icon, an Andy, and an Aaron has twisted my brain so many
It's a lot.
times.
I'm sorry. Don't betray
know.
me next time, and I won't take that feat.
I have definitely, it's the first time I've really had to have name tags on my side of the screen to be like, wait, yes.
That's Aaron. That's Icon.
Aaron, Aiken. Andy's the dragon.
Yeah, Andy's the easy. Icon and Aaron I mix up name-wise,
It's
I think,
okay.
the most.
We're both elves.
Yeah. That's a lot of elves.
It's a lot of elves.
It's a lot of elves. Speaking of things that surprised me, that many elves.
A lot of elves.
A
Yeah,
lot
we
of
came in and we're
elves.
like, oh, 3 elves, okay.
Okay. And like here's what I'm gonna say. I'm not mad about it. Like I think that there's, of course I'm not mad about it, but you know what I mean. Like I'm not upset about it as either a player or as a producer. Largely because I do think that it's definitely led to some fascinating discussions so far, especially because the three of us have not lots in common. I mean, Icon and Dwathi are buds, obviously, but the biggest thing that they realistically have in common is sticks.
Well, it is interesting because I feel like it is a Venn diagram of elves in a
It's a
sense
Venn-
of like,
A Venn diagram?
yeah, like, sure. Just bear with me.
Yeah.
It's like Icon and Aaron like started off in similar worlds.
Uh-huh.
I kind of branched off to do different things, and then those things kind of lead to the things that Dwathi and Icon have in common. Now, Dwathi and Aaron, that's a tougher Venn diagram to kind of like put together, but I'm sure
Elves.
there's something that I haven't. Elves. That's it. That's the one. Elves.
That's where all three overlap, yeah.
Yeah, is elves.
Ears.
And also, Ben, sorry, I think the pun you were looking for was the Sylvan diagram.
Stop it.
Sorry. That's actually a very beautiful way to describe the three characters. Yeah, not to belittle your analogy with a pun.
It's-
I think
no.
that's actually really like apt point.
It is
will
very
say-
fascinating. We're all very different.
Well, I was thinking about that with the like, oh, what surprised you? It's not surprising because I know the five of us, like the players, well enough. I'm like, oh, we all like each other and we're all very curious people. But something that's been very fascinating to watch is how curiosity manifests itself very differently in each of our characters, and yet every single one of us have a very distinct curiosity about something and a hunger for something. But also, each of us have like an ignorance and a naivete that also manifests itself differently. That I just think is interesting because like our overlaps are not necessarily the same, but
Yeah.
it makes it feel like, oh, no single character has all of the answers. Like no single character is just an absolute dum-dum, right? Like some of us maybe don't have a positive number in our modifier for intelligence, but wisdom is also a sort of like emotional intelligence, you know, and so there's all these different gives and takes that I think has been fascinating to see play out in game.
I really like how you put that, Ben. I think the driving factors for our characters and the fact that we're all ignorant about something and all want something but are all curious, that's a testament to all of us, I think, as storytellers. That's what makes a character compelling. But it's also a testament to Scott in the environment he set up for us. And to your point, Scott, about like we're just nobodies at the beginning of this. Like we can't be important people yet. So there's no way in this world any one of us could have a background where we'd have all the answers. It's pretty much like Aaron is right in the middle. He spent some time out in the frontier and he spent some time in the cities. He's the only one who's been in both places very recently. And even him, he can't possibly have all the answers about what's beyond the walls when no one knows. And that's just a really great setup for that character growth, for the mystery evolving.
Yeah.
It truly is a wonderful collection of characters at this table and players who have brought those characters to life.
I have a question for you, Scott.
Yo.
So obviously there's a huge mystery going on, a huge mystery element to this campaign. I think all of us have kind of like sunken our teeth into that mystery and wanting to puzzle it out. And to me, that's the biggest genre of this campaign so far is the mystery element. Yeah. I'm curious if that's intentional, if you set out to create a mystery for us to unwind, or if that is just because of the characters we brought and you would have spun it in a different genre direction should we have all come with something different.
You know, I think that it's really hard to say it because I think that all of these things that we think of it as core components or themes of a story, you know, mystery, adventure, romance, all of these things exist in a fully fleshed out life world. They're all parts of it, and so it's definitely intentional in that everything that you are experiencing was part of that world. But I think that if very different characters had been brought to the table and been should the story have started somewhere else, I think we could have had a very different theme in there, not because it was written to be that, but just that's what these characters would have found and would have happened to them first. You know, maybe in an alternate reality is a group that was less of finding what this mystery and more of there's nasties out there, let's go find and hunt them, and now suddenly it's less of a mystery and more of a survival adventure, like go kill big bad creatures. That even though, yeah, big bad creatures are showing up, but it's you know, in many ways still part of the mystery, but also part of the environment. So yeah, I think to answer the question, I didn't create this mystery specifically for it to be the thing to be like, haha, this is what campaign 1 is going to be. It was, well, this exists, and this is what is now most prominent and forefront, so here we are.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I think I have no issues telling you I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I know what's going to happen in the next, you know, in the next session. I have the plans for what might happen in the next few sessions. But if anyone were to tell me, like, how is this campaign going to end? I have no idea. I don't know. I know
it's exhilarating, huh?
It really is. Going back to the building of the structure, when putting together a campaign, I know, or like even just a region, I know the conflict, know the major players in this conflict, I know a lot of smaller branches of this conflict. And maybe there is not just one conflict. There are multiple conflicts that are each their own kind of big thing, that each of them could be the main thing. It's just here are these nodes of big story arcs and plots, and here are all the little branches that connect to those nodes that lead to the hundreds of different options that could be taken at any moment.
Too bad we can't play all of them.
I know. That's when like time travel is, because like the thought of those loose ends, right? Where it's like, what if I had just rolled that save, or what if we had just found that note, or all those like missed opportunities that aren't necessarily completely cut off always, but it does make you want to go like,
smoke that was happening in the forest.
That is still gonna
Yeah,
bother
we never
me.
found out. We're never gonna find out.
Nope.
We might go back there at some.
Maybe it'll still be smoking.
I have a feeling
Yeah.
it will.
It was magic.
I do feel as though, as much as of course there are 1,000 different ways that could go, I do feel, and 1,000 different genres like happening at any given time, I do feel as though this world itself is so unknown and uncharted, and that there is so much mystery and so much, like many good mysteries, there's a fear behind that about this world, that there are giant plant monsters that are just hanging out in a cave to prey on poor little gnomes and little wooden dudes.
Oh, guys.
There's just these little guys. There's a lot about the world that is unknown, but what is known seems to be tragic and monstrous, which is, of course, I think some of the best elements of a mystery, of the lack of knowing, and what you do know does not make you feel any better.
yeah.
That's true.
Which is why I think a lot of us, at least as players, and from what I see as audience members, a lot of people feel, is that it's all very odd and all very unknowable and mercurial and confusing.
It's interesting after session 0 when Scott kind of like set this world up for us, and like there's the walled cities and everything out there outside of the walls. It's like pretty new frontier. I could have seen this going in a million ways, but like my bets would have been on like Oregon Trail, blazing a new frontier,
Right.
like
That's-
very much like adventuring into the unknown territory. And so far, it's been almost nothing like that. And I'm actually so much more grateful for it, because I think I've gotten so much more invested than I would have been like in a Manifest Destiny kind of campaign.
Yeah. It's all very
Yeah.
Well, because it's all very unknowable. Again, it's all
Yeah.
because unlike a lot of our history, at least here in Merca and stuff like that, but like where there's someone who knows the answer and knows what's going on with a lot of this stuff. If there is someone who knows what's going on and what's happening around us, we do not have access to them. Like, if there's, from what I am learning at the very least, if there's someone who has a map of the continent, they aren't walking through the streets of anywhere that they weren't hanging out in Riversmeet. And so it's mystery within mystery. It's almost as though living on a different planet.
Yeah.
It's almost as though we found ourselves on Mars.
Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about it in a sense of this is like the Ashen Veil, right? That cataclysmic event was essentially like the largest burning of the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
Where there's so much knowledge that we just don't have anymore. We don't know what we don't know. And the people who were alive during when all that happened are likely not alive now. The stories have been lost to time, or it was so traumatic that people stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's this both an actual physical destruction of any idea of what might have been happening, and then also a psychological deletion of knowledge that, like, if you don't tell the story right, like, it's going to get lost.
Yeah.
And so all of us have entered the story at different points of this knowledge loss. Some of us because we're wee babies, you know, some of us because, you know, it just wasn't something that we talked about, or you weren't nearby when it happened.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it in terms of like how it's the deletion of history. And like as you were describing it like that, like the thing that popped into my mind was Fallout as like the closest
Yeah.
comp. Like it's very much now that you say it like that, and I haven't made this comparison till this moment, but like Finn coming out to Riversmead, very much Lucy stepping out of the vault for the first time in the new Fallout show. Like that's a great comparison because it really is post-apocalyptic in a lot of ways, but it's also rebuilding a new frontier. Did my camera just go out?
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Interesting.
can pause for a
We'll
second
fix it.
then, because I got a thing to say on that.
Yeah,
I got
go.
a thing to say on that. Come on.
You go for it, Emmy.
Oh, I just think that's funny because Finn's definitely Brotherhood of Steel, but
You just want to tag yourself.
yeah, y'all are the Brotherhood of Steel, the two of you. Just wandering around, finding stuff, making robots out of it, taking it away. At least that's the impression I get. Oh, Chauncey!
I was thinking the
Chauncey.
last episode, I was like,
Chauncey.
oh no, is Chauncey's flower crown dying or is it okay?
It's fine. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Anytime it starts to wilt, Duathi definitely goes over
Okay.
and fixes
I mean,
it.
I forget that
100%.
the last three have been in the same day, so.
They have.
Like,
It's been
oh no, is the
wild.
flower crown okay?
No, it's always fine. I will make this a point now that Duathi definitely always fixes Chauncey flower crab because he's got to look presentable and beautiful because he's a gorgeous baby. And, you know, it's like, I don't know, the Duathi equivalent of putting a tie on a toddler, I feel like. You got to look presentable, baby. We're going to go meet everybody. Of course, he's adorable as it is, so he doesn't really need the tie, but it is cuter.
That is
Like, he's already
nice.
so cute, and so if we put a tie on him, it's like...
You have to make a tiny flower crown for Chauncey's mini.
I'll get on that.
Great.
Well, on the subject of potential new changes now to character art, why don't we take a short break? We'll give Josh some time to troubleshoot his camera, and when we come back, let's take a dive into looking at in depth the character art that is out there.
I gotta tell y'all real quick before we go. So I've been making all the TikTok videos for the dice, which meant I had to go like grab high-res quality versions of the art, which meant I had to zoom in. And y'all,
Emmy's got some stuff to talk about, but we'll talk about that here in just a moment. We'll be right back. We're gonna take about 10 minutes. We'll see you in a moment. Welcome back, everyone. Hope that you enjoyed your break. Let's talk character art, y'all.
I can prep balloons.
I can, you magical son of a gun.
Heck
You know,
yeah.
I've been wondering where Icon gets his divine power. It's the frivolity and joy. It's the balloons.
It's
I
the
don't-
balloons.
What?
So, to give all of you,
Oh, we all saw it.
no, I know. So Ben's been having this issue since we called in for tech, where random stuff keeps appearing on his screen, and we don't know why. It's bringing me endless joy.
Now I just want to be like, what does what?
See, have we
You'll
tried?
never know.
Have we done a thumbs up? Like,
Yeah, we tried that. It doesn't respond to
tried
that.
that.
Oh wait,
Oh,
Oh.
there we go. Worked this time.
It is almost my birthday.
Ooh.
maybe
Is.
that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Already, what
Now
we're
it's not
doing
working.
for recreate the situation. This is the mystery. This is the mystery of Melos Machina. How
There it goes.
Oh, there we go. Here it
Amazing.
is.
Anyways,
Little
hi.
thing.
Let's
It's
talk
about
about
that
better art than those balloons.
Now let's talk about some delightful art.
well, who would you all like to start with?
Well, I would like to start with shouting out our amazing artist,
Yes.
Annabelle in chat. We commissioned Anne to do the character art for Melos Machina, and we are super, super, super impressed and excited. Absolutely crushed every single character. So gotta give a huge shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thank you, Anne.
Hey,
It was so good. Anne's the best.
I'm-
Just in general.
Anne is absolutely incredible, and you're all going to get a chance to just fawn over the work that she did here. So I have Aaron pulled up right now.
Yes.
Since Aaron is not here with us tonight, why don't we go ahead and start with good old RJ.
I got
stop.
got a thing, and it
stop. Not dead.
ties into stuff.
Um,
It's gonna tie into stuff we're gonna talk about later, but I got stuff.
yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, now these are all readily available. You can see them on. You can see them in our Discord in the Melos chat. You
Zoom in with
can
us.
see them online.
Play your phone.
But yeah, this absolute of one of the two fancy boys that we have
Fancy boy.
in
It's
the
not
party.
normal.
It's another
Talk
place
about
on
Venn
the Venn
diagrams.
diagram. Fancy
Mhm.
boys.
Fancy boy.
We should do that. Just like
Well,
put.
that's a circle.
We'll just put a web together of all the different things that connect everyone.
Fancy boys.
You know, I want to take a first look at Aaron's spell book.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
This little fits in the palm of his hand. Paper lantern-esque style. I thought was such a unique take on a spell book. When RJ told me that that's what he wanted his spell book to be, I was like, that's so cool. Yes, sold.
The accordion.
Ah.
The accordion page is where you can write on the inside. Although I do want to share just a funny anecdote about this. So, good friend who's appeared on the Gauntlet, Darby, and I, before Melos dropped, were looking at the blackouts that we had released to everybody, to all of you fine folks, and trying to speculate on who was what. Now, obviously, I had more information than Darby, so I couldn't talk too much. But one of my favorite memories of that time period was we gave nicknames to all of the characters just based on profiles. And tying this back into Fallout, we called this character Mini Nuke because the book looked for all the world with the way that his hand was shaped and into the hand, it looked like the art for the mini nuke from the Fallout game. It looked like it for all the world. And so when I discovered it was a book, I was like...
It's not a mini nuke. It's a mini book.
It's a mini book. We couldn't figure out what it was to save our souls from the fires of hell. And when it was a book, we were like...
What?
I didn't even realize that the art reflected the accordion design of this spellbook until after RJ described it in game. Like that's how much detail is in each of these art pieces. Is like you can look at it for a long time and still not even pick up everything. And I just assumed it was a regular book until Aaron described how he unfolded it for the first time, and I went and looked back at the art and I was like, holy cow, it's right there.
Something I do want to say is that everyone's character art has just beautiful little nuggets in them of things that may have come up yet, might not have come up yet. It is something that I will encourage people, hey, take some time and study them. There might be some Easter eggs in this.
Put some tinfoil hats on. Get some conspiracies.
I actually will also take this moment to give a quick general, I suppose, warning to the players. If there's something that you're like, ooh, I have things that I want to talk to somebody about, let's maybe hold off on stuff that you want to tinfoil hat at the table, and just things that you're like,
for sure. No, fun kinds of tinfoil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no,
exactly.
we encourage the audience to. We're not going to, like, do campaign jump arounds here. No, we want to do that in character. It's more fun anyway.
Yeah.
No. I encourage you in the audience. Wear some tinfoil hats. But, no, I won't.
That tinfoil
I personally,
hat.
none of us in the cast will ask anything that our characters would rather at this point.
Yeah. I will say, like, those little nuggets of detail, and maybe they hold spoilers, but, like, calling back to the discussion of, like, what we're surprised about with our characters, or what, like, through the development process of these characters, like, what was born of the collaboration. Working with Anne was, like, such a collaborative experience for me, and the details that Anne brought to Finn, like, some of those things didn't exist until Anne got involved. And we can talk about that more specifically for me when we get in there, but, like, that's the level of detail here, and that's, again, the beauty of collaboration is something might see something that is true, but you didn't see it yourself until they pointed out.
Absolutely. Actually, Emmy and I were just talking the other day about artists and the ability of, like, working with an artist in real time, to be able to have a back and forth, and it's so great. It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Emmy, I know you had something that you wanted to bring up, and I think it actually ties into something that I'd like to reflect upon. But
For sure. And again, I want to be very, very clear. This is a thing that, like, Duwathi doesn't have access to the same information that Emmy does. So, like, this is not anything that Duwathi is going to... I mean, I think Duwathi would ask about this, but not connected in the same way that Emmy does. And this is a thing that you the audience, also could probably do. So, Aaron's focus, his necklace, is obviously something that, you know, I'm sure that someone will ask about it. I'm sure it will come up in further conversation. It has come up in conversation. But when you combine this knowledge with the playlist that RJ gave us, so this is a combinant thing, multiple things. If you zoom in on this necklace in the art, there's some little chains in the stained glass. And I can't help but notice that RJ gave us a studio trimmed down version of The Chain by Fleetwood Mac.
So I didn't even make that connection. That's great.
I did until I zoomed in to do stuff for like social media, and I was like, wait, what is that? And I was like, oh no. And I put on my tinfoil hat a little bit, and I was like, conspiracy. And then I was thinking about like, no one puts the chain in their playlist unless they have drama. And I'm like, what does it mean? What does it mean? Where are their chains? And so that was me. The other night, I called Scott over. It's like, Scott, why are the what's the chains? And Scott, of course, being a gracious and good DM and producer, just kind of stared at me, which doesn't help, but also is exactly what he should do. But still, it just meant that I continued to ramble about chains for another 5 minutes. So.
One thing I do want to bring up now that we're looking at this much closer is, again, just a testament to Anne's skill. That this little stained glass pendant, you see the transparency on it because there's just little hints of the silver filigree work on his vest that shine through.
Another detail I didn't notice till just now.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed it until zooming in. I was like, wow, that's so well done. And I also want to... And you mad genius, you. But I also want to shout out RJ as a player, and his casting of Shield.
Yeah, that was glorious.
And just his description of the color. I've never envisioned Shield as like a multicolored stained glass facade, and then RJ described it and went, that's
Gorgeous.
Amazing.
That has always struck me as one of RJ's strong suits, even on the gauntlet. Like the way that he describes the spells, they're so like flowery and vivid and not like overdone, but like just it really puts a visual to something that like could easily have just been I cast shield.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the things I've been playing D&D with RJ for a number of years now, and it's one of the things that at least 4, but definitely more than that. And known him for a lot longer, and one of the things that I've always admired about him is his ability to create detail really instantly, to just make things completely deep and pivot on a heel. And it really does show. This character is so... speaking of mystery... but so very layered in a way that I think is probably one of the least explored characters so far with this, and I'm really excited to learn what all these details mean, because knowing RJ, they do all mean something.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, well, and just looking at like the way that the outfit is set up, it's utilitarian, but also very fancy. So like it calls back to his station as like a noble for sure, but also like this cape not getting in the way. Easily access the rapier. You can see how like well formed it is to his torso, so he can still move. Like this is, of course, the way I think about it, because fashion shit. Is there's nothing here that is extraneous, except for maybe the cape. But like,
Nothing
flair
about
isn't extraneous.
Yeah, they say like that there's elements to the color and the filigree and stuff, but the design itself is very obviously useful for wear. It's just also very pretty.
Yeah.
I have so many questions.
So good.
I love these characters.
Also, what spell is he casting?
Oh, that's a good question.
What spell is he casting? I know
Which
that
spell?
his magic is always blue, which again is
It
like,
often is. So it's a misdirect.
But so it's blue.
It's blue, whatever it is.
Which bolt is the one I know he's used that I would probably say is pretty close to that?
Yeah.
I've seen I've seen Aaron's spell list, but I think that
That's right,
happened
'cause y'all
off.
shared spell lists.
Yeah, I mean we've looked at each other's spell books in game, but I don't think we like said out loud what everybody has. So I don't want to like blow his kit on things that might not have been established on screen. I don't know though. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to now take this time to pivot to the complete opposite end of the spectrum and take a look at Duathi.
Oh, okay.
Duathi.
I thought we were going in alphabetical order based on the fact that we started there. All right. Fine, we can do me next.
I mean, we could have done alphabetical, but I was like, no, let's. How can I tie this
we
together?
shake it up. The elves that have nothing in the Venn diagram together. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, there's our girl.
And I love her.
I'm a baby. Yep. Many conversations with Anne about this piece. As far as my conversation with Anne went, because amazing, but it was so fun to get to send out. I sent over a few without telling you what I sent. I spent over a few reference images of some historical things and a couple of various color swatches and stuff, and a meme. And I got this back, and it's very interesting to see how this evolved from there.
I forgot about that.
I did send. I won't tell you what,
No.
but I did send Anne a meme.
What a
as
tease.
part of my art prep.
It's gonna be the final thing to drop in Duathi's playlist. It's the
final
meme.
lore.
the
Final lore.
meme.
It's the meme.
Yeah, when we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we'll drop that.
You bet.
Can I just say, I loved when we released the silhouettes of all of the art, the characters. As soon as everyone saw Duathi, like everyone went, oh well, there's the druid.
Yeah.
But then we released the full versions, and everyone was like, that is not what I was expecting for the druid.
Yeah.
That was I heard that from more than like almost that exact sentence from many people. It was like, that was not what I was expecting when that got revealed though. Like, yes, that's still the druid, but also no, that was not what I was expecting that to look like. And again, it's just a real testament to Anne.
What's
taking what I did.
amazing though is like the outfit's very drab, obviously, and like there's a lot of like gothy vibes, but that expression on your face is so, it like belies everything, and that's the adorableness shining through that, like that wonder, the sense of wonder in the world. Like to capture that in an expression is really remarkable.
One of my favorite little details on Duathi is actually her teeth. So
Yeah.
I told Anne that Duathi had Duathi doesn't have, or there's no orthodonture. So Duathi's teeth are kind of adorable and definitely very crooked. And so it was one of the cute details that.
Okay, but those eyelashes, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the teeth, it's one of my favorite little things. Anyway. I'll shush.
It's cute. It's cute.
I didn't notice before, and I don't know why, that like literally the stick looks like it was just broken off. Like like the
That's a
shards
fresh
at the
break.
top, where it's just like, that's my stick. I love it.
I also appreciate that the most color on this page, the most striking color, are the leaves.
The leaves.
Yep.
Yeah.
The leaves and the
they're-
fresh
and they're-
wood.
Mhm.
Autumn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of color, and this is in everybody's art, but I love that purple rim light, the highlight that all of our character arts have, and when we put them together, it makes them like cohesive, despite how different it is. But like, yeah, I mean the leaves are just so they pop because of the rest of it.
The extreme monochromaticism, yeah.
Extreme monochromaticism.
I know where all the secrets are in the art, so
I know it's like there's so many things here that I want to know about.
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
The bracelet.
Again,
the
obviously, don't tell
earring.
me if you would ask, but like.
Well, the thing is, it's so interesting. So to kind of a tiny peek behind the curtain, I think I'm allowed. Just turn off my feed if I'm not allowed to. So when we had our session ones, it wasn't all 5 of us at the table together. So there are some things like that Dwathi and Aiken have talked about maybe in the time that they've known each other, but not have talked about yet on screen.
That's very true.
So I don't want to like go there.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want to go there, but now I'm like, I want to tackle you, Emmy.
Like, what is it? And I'll stare at you. Yeah, and I'm sure it's very true of the other half of the cast as well. That at a certain point, yeah, there were session zeros, and yeah, it was not all of us. So.
Yeah.
Oh my
god!
god!
Is this the detail on the bodice and all?
Is that a squirrel?
A squirrel? I suppose.
Like on the breastplate? Is that what you're calling a bodice? I don't know what a bodice is. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It's a little squirrel.
Actually,
I'm just seeing it.
I don't think it's too much spoilers to talk about the scroll work on Dwathi's armor. That was one of the reference images that I sent Anne. And what that was is, if you look it up, you can find it fairly easily online, but it is off of these incredibly old Nordic tattoos that they found on ice mummies.
Badass.
And they found these gorgeous scroll work tattoos of elk and animals. And
how are we not of the same brain?
Known each other too long.
I mean, you are.
But yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a reference image that I sent over to Anne, was these, and they're very bizarre looking animals, but also very clear. They're very stylized. But that was a thing I sent over to Anne that I just, it seemed like a thing Dwathi would have on her clothing.
It's very cool how like subtle and naturally it's worked in, where it feels like it belongs there, but it doesn't like jump out at you. But like the second you see it, you can't not see it.
Slagmeister is also saying, "Oh wow, there's stitches where her sleeves and stuff have been torn and mended."
Yes.
Yep.
And like on the knee on one of the legs.
On the arms.
Yeah, these are all a mastercraft in how Anne has been able to, her skill in materialization is really amazing and apparent in all of this art.
Yeah, we talked a lot about, where these clothes came from was a big part of the conversation, for me at the very least. So, yeah.
So great.
Dwathi. I miss her already.
I'm seeing something now I have a question about, but I will wait till in character. I think
we have in character
follow up on
questions that
this.
are coming up. Ooh, spicy.
All right, well, now we're going to ping around and have a little more connection. We're going to stick with our elves with sticks, and we're going to take a look at Icon.
Sticks. Elves. Sticks. Elves. Elves.
My boy.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's funny, Emmy, because I don't think we had actually talked about this. We definitely didn't talk about it before character creation. A lot of Icon's stuff is also inspired by Nordic origin. So like the style of clothing and the style of how things are worn.
Yeah.
I wanted that to be very apparent in this. So that's stuff that I sent to Anne and like, here's what I want to draw from. Yeah. So this is Icon. All of his clothes are very much homespun, and like homemade, but well made. So I wanted that to be very clear in how he presented himself. Once a town guard, always a town guard in the sense of like presentation is very important to him. Even though he's humble, like he comes from humble backgrounds. We can see his spear and his shield now. We talked a little bit about it in the last episode, that are entirely made out of wood. So that is not metal, it is a metal-like wood.
I can now see the fossilized wood kind of like pattern in the spear tip there that I thought was metal originally, but like now that I know, it's like so obvious.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, what is that kind of metal?
Are you thinking of Damascus steel?
Yeah, Damascus steel. It mimics that look, but it's wood grain, essentially.
So cool.
Yeah. Oh, and God, Anne crushed it with the belt with the
I was gonna bring that up.
hand-woven details.
Yeah. Knowing
band
you well
weaving.
enough, did you send Anne references for this belt? Because
Basically,
it's-
not exact, but yeah.
It reminds me of some of your scarf work.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
But I can help it because that's what he does.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, Anne just crushed every little detail that I gave her about him. The mannerisms, the facial expression, how he holds his hair, how he holds himself. So, yeah, I feel we're just waxing poetic now. So,
But that's what this time is for.
yeah. Oh, and there's, yes, on his chest.
Yep.
The rose.
Beautiful motif on his chest of the rose. I don't think he fully understands the significance yet. But it's something that means a lot to him. I kind of liken it to his focus, his spellcasting focus, but his spellcasting focus is like everything that he carries, in a way. But that's definitely, I think, the source, inspiration for his magic. Yeah, it's interesting looking at this now after 22 episodes. Because he doesn't have any, like, bags under his eyes.
He's so much less exhausted in this art.
Yeah, and just so fresh-faced. Which, yeah, it's interesting. The
baby.
scale kind of mail was fun, and that's something that we worked very closely with Anne on. I know that Scott and I and Anne had a very close conversation about what kind of armor he'd be wearing, just how to translate certain iconography from his past into his present. And I just think that she did it so beautifully. So beautifully.
A couple of things also that I'm really appreciating. I love the earrings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just that.
And all the elves. Elves
Mhm.
with earrings.
Elves with earrings.
Elves gotta love their
That's what
jewelry.
we've got in common. What's the center
But
of the
does Icon
diagram?
ever go to
Elves
like
earrings.
scratch his head and accidentally like get caught up in the chain and pull the ear?
Not anymore. He's so used to them now.
Good, good.
He's had those for a very long time. Very long time. So it's something that he's just kind of gotten used to as a part of his body. I think when he first got them, he probably had issues with like his spear getting caught in it if he hit it wrong.
Oh, that would hurt.
Ooh.
But you learned that lesson quick.
Yeah, you learn it
Once.
once and then you don't do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, bud.
I love his freckles so.
I
Yeah.
know. There's so much about him that hints that he's very young. Like the freckles, like the expression.
Very young for an elf, let's be clear.
For an elf.
Yeah, for an elf.
Baby for an
Yeah.
elf, yeah.
He's baby for an elf. It was important to me to capture a certain elder sibling quality to him, but also a youthfulness where, yes, he's the eldest sibling, but like he's not without joy and fun and the ability to be kind and sweet and compassionate. So yeah, that was important.
You know what gives me the Big Brother vibes the most here in the art? The side looking eyes.
Yeah.
It's like I'm looking out for you, not looking ahead for myself. I'm looking out for you, and it's again another detail that like gave me something, but like until we talk about it, I couldn't have put my finger on that.
Yeah.
And captured our expressions pretty well, which is a lot of fun. Like all of the art has a lot of our energy in it, which is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some Easter eggs in here too that I'm looking at, and I'm like, I think I'll wait to discuss those until things are more revealed in the world.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. I'm like, ooh, I'm remembering things. Oh, I also want those boots in real life.
Those are they look really cool.
Yeah.
I think everyone has some just great well, almost everyone has great footwear.
Yeah, I don't wear shoes.
The other person has good feet.
And yeah, good
They
foot.
make me fall down.
So
I do not wear shoes. They make
Let's-
me fall down.
let's take a look at Andy and Andy's
Yes. Yes.
feats.
Speaking back when we only had the outline, the minute I saw this outline, I went, oh, that's Z, 100%. And there's no turning back. I was like, oh, look at Z. Look at that right there. I could tell immediately. And I'm so happy I was right.
If RJ hadn't played Lantil on the Gauntlet, RJ would have been probably a second choice guess for me. But I quickly ruled it out.
There was just something about
Andy.
the hair and everything. I was like, I bet my buddy Z, who loves dinosaurs, and the feet especially. I was like, it's, and of course, if I knew what Ben was playing, so otherwise my other friend who loves dinosaurs would have been an easy shoe-in. But there was
Right.
just something about this. I was like, I know it's Z.
You know, going back to the discussion of character creation, I know when Z, you and I had our chat, how did you put it? It's like, I want to play
I
any...
was like, what animal can I be?
Yeah.
Like, Scott, you know me, what animal can I be? Or like Dragonborn, and I was like, great, let's do it. Girl, yeah, yeah. I picked Dragonborn, and then, I kind of, honestly went a little bit off of, Isri, and it's like, I am very fascinated by gem Dragonborns. That sounds really interesting, and I'm looking at the different types. Topaz really kind of jumped out at me. And for some reason, when I was first searching topaz, it didn't come up as like the usual like yellowy orange. Like I found some kind of like turquoisey teal sort of topazes. So which turquoise and teal are my favorite colors. I love a blue green. So I thought, why don't we kind of combine the two a little bit? So yeah, her coloring was a big thing for me. Um, and the kind of semi-contrasting colors was really fun. So yeah, she has all those like little blue, like turquoisey details, like the freckles and the flecks and
The freckles are so cute.
all that.
The big
so that
question
was-
I have.
Yeah.
The big question I have is and of course I feel as though we would just know this by looking at it, but I, Annie, do not know. Does Andy paint her claws, or are they turquoise?
No, they're turquoise.
I love that.
Dang, I wish mine would do that.
Just grow turquoise.
I
Yeah,
gotta say
she-
the color combo that you went with, see, it's like, at least based on just the color palette, like yours is by far like my favorite. It stands out to me. It just like pops so vividly.
I know. I really love the yellow, and it is. Yeah, I think a lot of it is the contrasting colors catches the eye.
Yep.
But yeah,
Orange and
with
teal,
the
it's
nails,
classic.
I never thought about that, Emmy, but I'm just like she wouldn't care enough to paint her nails.
No.
Wouldn't last one
they
day
just-
in the forge.
Probably not.
Yeah, they just are that way.
I love it.
And then as for the clothes, kind of what I talked about with Anne, and she did so wonderfully, was it's everything is very practical. Like she has worked in her father's smith for most of her life.
Yep.
And so that's the vibe. And I love that she added a little touch of the heel belt with the calipers on it.
Yes.
That was
Yeah, the tail belt
fully-
kills me
that was
every time.
all Anne. Which was just such a glorious little touch.
It makes so much sense too. Like it's one of those things that it seems like a thing Andy would do, which is it's there.
Here, I guess.
Yeah.
That works.
Why not?
Yeah, and the goggles I really wanted. We kind of talked about the hair a lot. I don't know why. Like in my head, I wanted her to have hair, but like hair didn't make sense, so we were like feathers. And then
So
of course,
good.
like
I love the
I tied back in a very practical way, like low ponytail, out of the way. Yeah.
yeah. Again, the fact that she had
Yeah.
feathers for hair, that was another reason why I was like, Z would absolutely know that the dinosaur would have had feathers and would have given this dragonborn feathers for hair. It was like
Of course.
Accurate.
accurate.
Yeah.
I love her little collar on her shirt too. The little
I know it
Oh,
is
yeah,
like
it's
such
like-
scallops.
like a very slight feminine touch, which I
Yeah.
enjoy.
That it's practical, but also cute.
Yeah, but also cute.
The shin guards are really cool. Like the way they look like they kind of like snap together or buckle together.
I know.
I've
Yeah,
never seen
and-
anything like it.
Anne did an incredible job. I kind of just gave her more or less a vague outline when it came to the clothes. I was just like, goggles, leather smock, like very simple. And he, I think, did a great job at making something that like looks nice but is very straightforward. Yeah.
Talking about how and Andy doesn't have shoes. I like these cuffs in that they serve that purpose of keeping the pants nicely put together and that not getting in the way and still form-fitting. The sort of thing that a form-fitting boot would do.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I can't wear shoes, but this is going to serve that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
This will do.
Uh,
Nothing gets caught on my pants.
Zag is asking, can I ask about her armbands? Are they for practicality, just keeping the sleeves out of the way, or are they also little tool belts?
Oh gosh, I mean that would be amazing if she had tiny tool belts all over her body. But no, yeah, I again another Anne touch, but I always kind of thought of it as like, yeah, she has these puffy sleeves. She kind of likes a more less fitted top. So, but you can't kind of have flowy sleeves in what she does. So you gotta cuff them a little bit.
There's so much character in that one sentiment.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
I also love
Yeah,
that they're
she does.
asymmetrical.
I was just about to say exact same words.
I honestly didn't notice until staring at it right now that there are two on one arm, the other, and I'll be thinking about that now. But yeah, I always thought of it as like kind of getting them out of the way sort of thing. That like it's either those or she is just like fully rolled.
It is also really nice to look at this as, because the battlesmith in as a class in D&D is so traditionally like all right, like I've got some decent armor on, like here we go, ready to go. But seeing Andy and like like I've got everyday clothes. I've just got my big walking piece of armor over here. Which there was the question, has art for Chauncey been made yet? Unfortunately, the answer to that is no, we do not have art for Chauncey at this time. There was, at the time of making Andy's art, we did have the discussion, do we include Chauncey in Andy's art to be Andy with Chauncey? And ultimately it was opted not to, which I still think it is a good choice.
We always said that maybe we'd do a separate piece of art with her and
yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe level 10 character art. We
Yeah. At a certain point, we're going to have enough life experiences that our clothes are going to change.
That's true. We're going to be different. Yeah.
And I know that is, I guess me saying it now is going to make this, make internet doesn't go away. I already said it once before, but I know it's a really nice tradition that I've seen of people who do shows like this or people who have character art where around level 10, you get a new version of the art to replace the old, not in that, we're getting rid of the old, it's just these are different characters now. They have changed.
Yep.
And art that reflects that. So I don't know. Maybe Chauncey will get his own character art. Maybe Chauncey will show up in later art of Andy. But no matter what, I'm sure we will see art of Chauncey one day.
He lives in our hearts.
Truly
Maybe
does.
even fan art.
I know we have a mini for him.
We do. We have a mini.
We do
for
have
him.
a Chauncey mini.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Chauncey
I
mini.
will say on the subject of fan art, taking this back to our wonderful artist, I don't think we would have had this art if Anne hadn't dropped that absolutely amazing art of
Nico.
of Nico
Our best boy.
into our Discord, and honestly, it was seeing that work that I went, that's it. No questions asked. This is who I want for Melos.
Yeah. It captured him so perfectly.
Yeah.
And we've worked with a lot of great artists here at Adventures Pack between
been
our various
spoiled.
shows. We really truly have been spoiled. But I think after this experience of working with Anne and seeing what Anne brought, like I don't know if I'd trust my level 10 character art to anybody else at this point.
At
So,
least not for
I mean,
Melos, yeah, because
for
Anne
yeah,
knows us
specifically
so well.
for this character, like I don't think I would want to hand Finn to anybody else. So
Well,
and
and I
this
feel
isn't
like-
this isn't a promise at this stage, but we really do hope that you're still interested in updating.
I feel like she knows our characters just as well as do.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that's gonna bring us to our
Fancy boy.
our last.
Boy
We
two.
started fancy. We're gonna end fancy.
Boy
Um,
number 2.
I see what you did there.
Let's take a look at Finn.
Why you need this many chains though?
There is utilitarian function there.
I know. I
the,
just think it's funny.
the chains. I mean, if we're talking about like Aaron is very utilitarian in his fancy getup. There are definitely elements of Finn that are just for flashiness and not utilitarian at all. Those the loops on the trench coat. Anne added
Yeah,
those
on the
details,
jacket.
and I was instantly in love with them. I told Anne I liked strappy, like just like straps across all the various elements, but she added a lot, and I love them. I love them.
Children
And
of the 90s here.
and you know, Finn doesn't know what's practical out in the wilds. Like he wouldn't be thinking about, hey, these are gonna get caught on bushes and shit. Like that never would have crossed Finn's mind. I don't think
The
in
wild
putting
where
this together.
bushes and shit are.
Yep, that is about what Finn expected. Bushes and shit. That's why, again, the theme of being constantly surprised. Very, very true for Finn, including the way he dressed and prepared for this expedition. That said, there is a lot of utility built in the belt, the chains. You know, I like to imagine that the Cracker Jack box is like wrapped up in one of those chains and like literally affixed to him now. The spellbook pal definitely sits there. There's a couple elements that were surprises or that were elements that really came about from the three-way conversations that Scott and I had together, because Scott was involved in the character art discussions, at least the initial ones. Before we get to that, I just want to say, like, I think in terms of a prompt, I threw Anne a very difficult combo of things I was looking for. I think it was something along the lines of, give me the Hugo Boss SS uniforms from World War II, but like less like fascist and a little more of the just like high fashion, but mix it with like military prep school, and then add a splash of private detective, and then, you know, make it wizardy and shit. Like give me some of that arcane punk too, and like that was
then
a
make it
wild
wizardy.
smattering. Yeah, well, you got to be
lot.
wizardy, right? Yeah, it's a lot of combinations, and you know, this is actually a bit of a difficult subject. I have very difficult feelings around AI and its place in art, and I think this the process that I had with Anne perfectly illustrates where I see AI art being a potential tool and where all of the shortfalls are, so that it could not possibly have replaced what Anne was able to bring. But I asked Anne if she was comfortable with this ahead of time. I talked to Scott about it as well, because I wouldn't ever want to put somebody in this position if they weren't. But I actually used some AI image gen to help me figure out what elements I liked. What the AI image gen really showed me was what elements I didn't like. It didn't give me any surprises that were gifts. It didn't give me anything that caught me off guard that wasn't in my prompt that fit the character. But what it did give me was a lot of examples of, I like this element, but it's the only element in here that I like. Or I like the overall vibe of this, but I really hate all of these things. And that was a really helpful tool to help me figure out some stuff, to streamline that prompt I gave Anne down into much more specific terms, and then have some just point of references, because I Googled the shit out of this vibe. I couldn't find anything that was
You don't
there.
say.
And, yeah.
Do you
If
strut
you
that
type
all
it
into Google with a whole bunch of
Yeah.
quotation marks on either end, see what you get?
Yeah. So, what was immediately clear to me in that process was that I'm never going to get what I want out of this AI process, this image gen process. And even if that technology advances, there's no way that it could have taken my personality. It could have taken all of these abstract themes. It could have taken all of the background and all of the passion that I personally carry, and the world that Scott built, and put those all together into something that not only was true, but surprising, was a gift. So thank you, Anne, for all of the gifts you put into this. Now I'm getting sentimental. Jeez.
I know.
No, this is one of those things. So we here at the Adventurers Pack will never have AI art do this job. Ever,
No,
ever, ever.
no.
Ever, ever,
Nope.
ever in 6 million years ever. Because why would we when we know people like Anne? Like, why would
Yeah.
we do that when we can have Anne be a part of this situation? But also, yeah, there's something to be said for a tool versus a person at a certain point, and
Absolutely. Like, a tool is not the creative process. You can use
Exactly.
tools in the creative process, but it'll never replace that. And that
Yeah.
the experience of working with Anne and trying this new thing, it just made that immediately clear, and that has stuck with me even as the technology's evolved. So I'm going to move off of that because it's a sticky topic, and move into
Yeah.
some of the gifts, some of the surprises that Anne was able to pull here. So the straps, that was
Back to the straps.
that was a vague detail that I gave Anne, and I think that
And straps.
crushed it. Talk about footwear that I want in real life. God damn, those boots are cool.
I want
all
to
of
learn
the-
how to make shoes now.
Right. They're like steel-toed too, but like still not like workman's steel-toe boots, like fancy person steel-toe boots. There is a lot of utility built in, but also a lot of flair. And similar to how Aiken said, a guard's always a guard. Presentation's a big thing. Well, Finn was in Officer's Track for a little bit before he switched to the Lore Keepers. That's been established, and there's aspects of Finn that are still drilled into him from that time. The prep school vibe, the need to do the routine, the calisthenics every day, the taking precise and precious care of the clothing. All of that comes from the situation he grew up in. But then the presentation and the character and the flair, all of the embellishments that aren't practical, that wouldn't be on a military uniform. That's the pride he takes in what he's become now. He's added all this frill to a different background, a background he never wanted but had. Now he's got the role he's always wanted, but he doesn't know what to do with it yet. And I think that really comes across in the costumes. The pendant and the little eye on the cover of the spellbook. That I think I'm comfortable to share. That's the Lore Keeper's symbol. And that's something that we kind of landed on together, I think, in the conversations with Scott and Anne. That actually evolved over time. And then when Anne put it on the cover of the book, that was Anne doing that. I was like, oh my God, it's so perfect for a sentient spellbook. It's like it has an eye now. So I really, really love that. The mage hand and the quill, I mean, I described it, but I didn't think it would be that cool. And the glowing effect coming off of the spectral hand is it's that detail. It's wild. The tie and the collar is just so classic PI. So there's that element making it in. and just man, the gloves, the
Oh,
gloves, the
those
fingerless
gloves.
God, so cool. This is something I would love to cosplay, but like I have no idea how I would put it all together.
Yeah, I think of everyone, yours would be the most complicated costume-wise to put together.
Oh,
Very,
Um,
very custom.
Especially if we remove, Andy being a dragonborn.
Well,
like-
yeah,
Right.
there's that. There's that.
just
At least I'm
talking
a
about the
human, a
clothes.
blonde human, even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the detail of the work on the pendant, the symbol is absolutely stunning. And also, this is, I knew that I knew this, but then I forgot that I knew this. You also have ear jewelry.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
I was just
Yep.
about to say, yeah. I think I'd noticed that somewhere along the line and also then completely forgotten about it.
Yeah, that was from it was just a phase. Finn thought maybe it would make him look cool in the eyes of the other prep school kids. It really didn't work, but like, it's such a pain
Still
to get in
doing
there.
it.
Why take it out?
All right. So again, I don't want to know the details of why or how, but this is a thing that I would have noticed visually as Duathi, so I don't mind asking. In your eyebrows, are those cutouts or are they scars?
That's a good question. You can ask
Got-
in person. No,
Okay.
I think you'd be able to tell on the left eyebrow, pretty clearly a scar.
Pretty clear scar? Okay, good to know.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
a big one, not a gruesome one. Definitely not from like a battle or anything cool. But yeah, it's something.
We've spent enough time together to know. I would know it's a scar.
We all
on it.
face plant as children. It's
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. Like, I've got a lot of assumptions of why, but like,
Face plant
Finn
now.
definitely seems like the kind of person to have gotten something in his face, like an explosion or something.
You can ask in game how. Finn
Oh,
got
I'm
it.
not
I
gonna
won't
ask
divulge
now.
that
Are you
part.
kidding me? No, I don't want to know now. I mean, I do,
Yeah.
but I don't. But I do, but I don't.
Rather.
I do think this was one of the bits of character art that, when we did the silhouettes, threw the most people for a loop. Like, what is this?
I don't-
Especially those belt loops.
I don't know why, but I assumed that coat was blue. There was something in my brain when I saw the outline of this coat. I was like, it's blue.
You know what's
don't know
wild
why.
is when I was first like thinking about what I wanted Finn to look like before I talked to Scott about like iconography, colors of the world. I was picturing blue too, but then it was like yeah, but the Order of the Melos colors are more like reds and whites. And I was like, hey, that totally still works for me.
That's
I
hilarious.
love the direction we pulled it, but
And
Oh,
that
no, it
red
looks great.
pops so
the
nicely.
Red looks so gorgeous.
it's so nice. Well, and I really I think there was actually an earlier pass where the red wasn't quite as like crimson-y, and it wasn't working for me. But what I love about it is the red is so minimal in the art, right? Like it's just on the inside of the coat, and it's just on the cover of the book. So it's not overwhelming, but it's like it's there.
Yeah, it pops.
Yeah.
Also with
And-
the green of the mage hand.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I'm blown away by the handwork. Both Finn's like weird outstretched, the way he's got it outstretched,
Yeah.
but also the mage hand itself is really cool.
Yeah,
talk about transparency.
You're the bane of most artists. You didn't give Anne just 2 hands to draw, but 3.
That's right. Well, like I said, I felt like I gave Anne a very difficult assignment, and not only did then get like 100%, they got 110%, like extra credit for sure.
I always loved when we started out and we first saw each other's art. It's like Andy and Finn's styles could not be more different.
Well, I think
And, like, the way-
that's true of our characters and background too, and yet like there's a lot more overlap than I think we initially saw in each other.
There are a lot of similar personality types and just a lot of similar like social awkwardness, but like they could not present themselves differently. as people.
You know what? You know what we do have in common appearance-wise is we're both loud. Like we both stand out here in
That's
in the
true.
wilderness,
That's true.
and we're both kind of like the anti-social. Like we're okay to be wallflowers and just observe, and yet we're
Yeah.
like sticking out. And I think that's
Yeah.
what I initially bonded with Andy over was like. Okay, yeah, we don't need to make small talk. Neither of us are small talk people, and we're just not going to do it. It's great.
Yeah, we were really awkward very quickly. It was very funny. Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, then no matter how different we look, like I couldn't ask for a better partner.
Aw.
So,
So, what? I mean, well, what a way to wrap that up. One little Easter egg that I do want to give that is it doesn't. This does not give anything away, but it is, I think, a really interesting piece that Emmy spotted, but our audience will never be able to spot because it's written in the file name.
yes, I did find this recently.
So, all of the other character art, when I got the finished products from Anne, everyone's name was associated with them, except for Finn's. Finn's file was sent to us simply as Lorekeeper.
Which threw me for a hell of a loop.
It's true.
Yeah.
That tells me how late in the game Finn's name was completely finalized.
That's really what that means, actually.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. But like the thing about that's just so deeply fascinating to me. That like, and again, I don't want to know why. It just means that you were working really hard on a name. Why?
I don't mind sharing this because it's not a spoiler, really. I'm bad at names. I'm really bad at coming up with names. Like I can come up with a name, but like I'm not. It doesn't just like snap to me. And what was wild is I spent so long thinking about Finn. I knew so much about Finn. The name was the last piece, the very last piece to fall into place.
And
Like
I
to the
just
point of
love-
like the week before we were about to do the first game, I don't think I had a name, and Scott's sending me like lists of in universe
Take
things. So
a goddamn name.
so the name might have significance. I'm not gonna say, but it certainly wasn't what was important to me in the character development process.
And I think it's also a really important thing of knowing a name is important for a character, so important that it's okay for the right one to take a very long time to
Yes.
happen.
Yeah.
Like I would rather a player come to me and say, I have this character, but like not be able to give me a name until even like the first session of I figured it out. As opposed to a player coming up to me and being like and saying, you know, I don't know what character I want to play, but I came up with a really cool name. One of those two is far more
One's
empowering.
gonna be less work, yeah.
Yeah, I do come up with like, oh, that would be a really good name for a movie. What's the movie about? I don't know. But then I never write the movie. So, you know, I feel like it can't preempt. It definitely can't preempt. Maybe it can tie in, but for me anyway, that's the everything else was where I poured my focus.
Well, I think.
Also, just to end the or like to like a little thing in the conversation about art, Bot did give us all a printed art and for us. I hung mine up in my little office / guest room. Where just a little gal just hanging back there.
That was really sweet.
One day we'll I'll put them all together and do like here's the lineup and I do want to wrap things up. I know we're going to talk a little bit about 2024, specifically the upcoming rules. But I think that this is going to be a nice place to wrap things up. There's a lot that we can talk about, But I also know that we're having a lot of those discussions over in our Discord. And so if people want to, be a part of those discussions, absolutely head on over there. And let us know what you think. We'd love to hear it. But I do kind of want to take these moments because it's in the title, and I'd feel like I'd be robbing people if we didn't at least take a couple of minutes to talk about it. But just now, I think is a great time to say, hey, can confirm when the changeover happens. Melos Machina will be making that shift over. We will be switching over to the new 2024 rules for Dungeons and Dragons. I know I am. I'm fairly excited myself. I think there's a lot of interesting things in there, but I would love to hear y'all's take on things that you're looking forward to with it, things that you're unsure about, and yeah, kind of wrap things up with that.
I'm unsure about what's the difference between 1D&D and D&D 5.5 and whatever this is, and what is the name ultimately going to be, because D&D 2024 is going to be very hard to Google.
It's true.
Very
It
hard.
really, really is.
They don't even know.
I'm excited
don't.
about the rule upgrades, but also, can we just call it 5.5, y'all? Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's the only thing I'm unsure about, though, because everything else sounds great.
My biggest excitement for Icon specifically, well, not the biggest, but the action economy gets so much better for Paladins.
Yeah.
So much better. Like, literally, the entire last game, I was like, nope, that's an action. Okay. That's an action. Oh. That's an action. Oh.
Very similarly for me, it does come down to 4 words, which is bonus action wild shape.
Yes.
Yep.
Everything
Bonus
else says
action
is
healing
gravy.
potion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is amazing.
But yeah, I for me and Duwathi, again, apart from bonus action wild shape, especially for the way that the circle of spores works, it really actually makes my spores so much more usable. But beyond that, the choices with druids, you get to choose at different levels whether you're going to go more martial or more spellcasty. And they're doing that with a lot of different classes, but especially if I'm just talking about my excitement with it for Duwathi, I think that's going to be able to build a lot more unique characters. I have no plans for exactly what I'm going to do. I only know where Duwathi has been. I have no idea where they're going. But,
Yeah.
which is both exciting and awful. But I'm very excited for even further diversity within character class choices. The more options we have, the better, I think. So, yeah, and at the end of the day, I also know that here, at least as far as our narrative shows go, we are a big fan of the rule of fun at some point. Like, at some point, I know that at the end of the day, Scott's going to do what works best. And so we'll do what works best, but it's just going to be cleaner and nicer and a little bit more interesting, and I'm very excited for some of the druidic changes. Just, it's a lot cleaner.
Scott, I'm curious because I agree actually that there's a lot more customization, or a lot more unique characters can come out of this. But one thing you and I have gone back and forth on a little bit with these changes is some of the choices that used to be semi-permanent choices that you would make for your character. Things like your cantrips for a lot of classes. You would be that's a character choice. You're stuck with that now. And then if you want to change it, you work with the DM to come up with some plot-driven way. Well, a lot of the classes are now getting a lot more flexibility in those choices, in that they're not permanent anymore. A lot of classes can now swap out cantrips at level ups. As a wizard, I'm stoked. I can swap out on a short rest one of the spells I have prepared, which is really cool, but it also makes that choice of preparing my spells for the day a little less impactful, a little less meaningful. So Scott, I'm curious, kind of where you see. Do you feel like the balance is good there in terms of we have more choices to create more unique characters at the beginning and more meaningful choices with things like the custom backgrounds and origins, but do we lose some of that with the less rigid kind of choices that are long term?
Um, you kind of have hit the biggest thing that I am wanting to wait and see. And I think the only negative is the wrong word. I think the only wary thing that I am of these new rule changes are over adding too much versatility to every class, and a few of the species as well. That I think part of the fun of choosing certain classes was, hey, this is the versatile class. This is the one that allows me to maneuver things around a little bit. And like you said, I do find a lot of joy in being the sort of DM that if a player comes to me and says, hey, I've made these choices and I'm not happy with them, I want to sit down with them and find a way to make those changes happen. Rules as written, these changes can't happen. So let's find a way in the story for it to happen. You don't ever use this cantrip. Well, let's find out a way for you to now have lost that old cantrip and get you a new one, and find a way that makes it meaningful as opposed to just, well, I get to do this. And I think that one of the things that came up that I think explains my view on this, or identifies my view on this really well, it actually is in one of the upcoming rogue class changes, where as a rogue, it sounds like you are able to remove X number of D6 from your sneak attack pool in order to do something else, which I think is amazing. But the one that I heard that made me go, huh, that sounds weird, is the rogue's ability to remove X D6 in order to add poison to their weapon attack. And from a mechanics point of view, I think that's amazing. But from a storyline point of view, I want to take that time to work with the rogue to get that poison, or to have them craft that poison, and to have them have that foresight of, I'm going to have placed this poison on this weapon, or developed a way for me to, in the moment, be able to place that poison. And all of those really story-rich moments are now being reduced to, well, in this moment, I remove 3d6 and I've had the poison the whole time. Now, that being said, I also understand why all of this versatility is being implemented, because not every DM does that. There are DMs out there who are, nope, it's in the rules, that's it, moving on. And there are some DMs who maybe don't make the game as fun, and are just, nope, we're going to... I'm trying to think of a really polite way to say this, in that there might be some DMs out there who aren't interested in being flexible, and might have some players feel as though the DM is antagonistic to them. And all of these rule changes are now giving the players something in the base player handbook to say, no, but look, rules as written, I can. Which I think is incredibly important, to be able to give the freedom to the player who is playing with a DM who isn't interested in giving them the freedom at their table.
You know, I think that now we've been fairly good about it, like, dancing around some stickier topics and not jumping feet first too heavy into them, and I want to maintain that, of course, tonight. Not that we're afraid of doing it, but alternatively, that's not the point of the show. I do think that D&D is trying to clean out some toxicity that has existed in the system since its inception. And that's the nature of art and games and community. We change, we evolve, our perspectives on things change. That those things are all very, very true, and we could debate their efficiency or motives on that all night long. At the end of the day, and that's not what we're doing here. I do think that is part of the motive behind some of these changes, and at the end of the day, I also know that here at the Adventurers Pack, I'm very lucky to have been given DMs who do want to do those story-driven things. I personally wouldn't be interested in having a rogue that just randomly has poison for no particular reason. I don't know. I'm that weird kind of player. I actually want to keep track of what's in my backpack, and I want to make sure that I eat every day and that I know what I've eaten and make sure that I have survival gear to keep going through the day, because I like to know. It helps me get into the world. But alternatively, I wouldn't do that at the expense of the fun and the story. And so I'd want to know where that poison came from. I'd want to know why I changed out these cantrips, which are supposed to be a little bit more immutable, or what I studied or did to do that. But again, I'm also lucky to be surrounded by a bunch of people who do want to do that, because, yeah.
Well, and that all kind of touches on ultimately what I came to realize is all of these things that I have minor worries and gripes about. Now it's not me talking to the players and finding out a way to make that happen. Now it's this thing that the characters get to have happen, and now I get to have the dialogue with them of, all right, now how do we have it happen in the story? So if we stick with that rogue example, hey, at this level up, you get to remove D6 to do all of these different things. Awesome. Now that you've got this ability, and really quick, before you use it, let's find a time in the story to now have you go out and get all the things to justify that. So it feels organic, and it feels... Now, I would never tell a player, you're not allowed to use that ability until you do that. No. But I certainly look forward to the chance to work with the player, to be like, this cool thing that you've got, now we're going to tie it into the world.
Yeah.
Like getting Finn's Pearl. You know, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like at some point we needed to you've had this ability, now we need to go get the stuff to do it. And that's
And I'll be curious to
fun.
see if there are any limitations to it, of you have this ability as long as, or any of that.
Yeah.
I don't know, and which is why I'm excited to see.
It's
Yeah.
All of my everything boils down to I am excited for these books to see what's going on.
I like that you added that, like, despite this being added to the rules, it doesn't necessarily take anything away from a table who's interested in flavor.
Not at all.
But what it does do, and I think it's true for both DMs and players, is it makes creativity more accessible, and it levels the playing field between. Not everybody's lucky enough to have a DM like Scott. And some people are unlucky to have, more of the rigid kind of like, well, the book says, the rule lawyers type tables. And this now gives people who don't have a DM who will craft them their own side plot to change out a cantrip, a way of doing that. And it doesn't take anything away from the DMs that want to flavor that choice, I think, personally. I also think that it opens the door for creativity on the player creation side, the backgrounds in particular, and while it does, it feels like a smoothing out of some of the classes in terms of like, sorcerer now has the same amount of prepared spells at the beginning, which to me was like one of those unique things about sorcerer that like I thought was a trade-off for being a sorcerer. So I'm bummed about that, but on the same time, like it does open up an avenue for somebody who might not have ever played before. They don't have to make as many difficult choices in the beginning, and the choices that they are making feel rewarding and impactful. And so it can encourage you to think a little more about your backstory than you might have if you wouldn't have been encouraged by an awesome DM.
Yeah, I think coming from a mechanics standpoint, all this stuff makes sense, but also I can't help but think we are in a very rare case where we get to play long-term games, long-term campaigns.
Yeah.
So from a marketing standpoint, I can understand why these changes are being made, because most players are probably only playing a one-shot or a drop-in game, or maybe an arc that's 5 sessions long. And they might not be able to have the time to explore some of those story-driven changes, or they're coming in at level 5, you know, and they need to have these decisions pre-made. Maybe they already found the poison, if we're going to use that. But the job of specifically Wizards and Hasbro is to get more people to play their game.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's more accessible and easier to pick up early on, it's going to be easier for them to keep those customers coming back. So yes, all these things are great that they're adding, I think, some parity between classes, especially the classes that we've had since the very beginning, and some that were just added. They're making them a little bit more balanced within each other. I think one of them is they're trying to make it so some of the feats that you're like, oh, you have to get this feat, is not game breaking if you don't get that feat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need this feat to make this class work.
Yeah.
You know, so I understand like the hang-ups on some stuff, but at the end of the day, they just want the maximum number of people playing their game.
Well, and more accessibility is better for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ultimately at the end of the day, you know, a lot of tables don't want to play the way we play. And that's fine. As long as everyone agrees and is having a good time, it's fine. But if you're a really combat-heavy D&D person, well, then this just got a lot more practical. It's a little bit easier to use. Like, there's... At a certain point, again, I haven't read the books. They aren't out. I can't defend, and I don't need to. They have a marketing team to defend themselves. But at a certain point, a lot of the changes I'm seeing are just deeply practical. Bonus action, wild shape.
Well, and statistically speaking, I know I mentioned this like in conversations behind the scenes, there are more players than DMs out there. Statistically speaking, there's more players. And I think for a long time, Dungeons and Dragons was very much start with the DM in mind and then the players, which makes sense. You can't have a game without a DM in this specific game, technically. I'm not going to go into all the different iterations that I could, but this one, I feel like it helps give the players a little bit more autonomy in the decision-making process. And I saw Anne mention this in the chat, is like it helps players ask questions to their DMs that they would not necessarily know if their DM didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
So I think that gives agency. That's the other word. Accessibility and agency.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just the easier we can get people to the table and rolling dice. Also, they're reorganizing the book. Can we just talk about apparently they're reorganizing the book?
Thank goodness.
Please.
I have opinions.
So hard to find stuff.
Opinions. There are worse ones out there. But they're also a lot better.
Yeah.
All in all, I will be very happy to see, to get to spend some more time with you all when this comes out, to put some new touches onto all the characters. I know Andy,
Most of the characters.
we'll still get to touch on Andy a little bit, because new spells. Who this? So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
just not a whole lot of new features for artificers. But
Artificers have very few bonus actions, so healing potions on a bonus action is a big win.
Healing potion bonus action. See, it's also 4 words.
Oh man, I just realized I have to retool an item now. Homebrew items that let healing potions be a bonus action. Well, now I gotta come up with something more fun.
Whoops. Free action.
Quarter action.
It sounds as though the Artificer is going to get a rework later on down the line. I got that impression from one of the videos.
It's still a new enough class that I feel as though it's got less sticky spots.
And keeping it out of the player's handbook also for, artificers aren't necessarily appropriate for every setting, and all of the things that it looks like have been included in the player's handbook are, if it's in the player's handbook, you can use it. And I understand why the artificer wasn't included in on that. But very happy to have one at our table. Well,
My mother was turned into a bear.
I think, unless anyone has anything else that they'd like to say, speak now, forever hold your peace, or hold your peace until next week.
I'm sure we will be talking about these upcoming changes in the Discord for quite some time, and then of course when we make the conversion. So
secretly, Duathi has been the little mouse the entire time. You heard it here, folks.
Duathi is the mouse inside you all along.
oh.
Well, with that, everyone, we are going to be ending things here. Really quick, if you are new here and you popped on in, I saw that we had some new folks join us. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed. If you would like to continue with these discussions, we're talking about the changes over in our Discord. We're also talking about our show, Melos Machina, in there as well. We will be back this time next week, 7 p.m., for a full episode of Melos Machina. Where we will have episode 23. We will get to talk to Corcoran about everything that happened in his secret mushroom cave. Additionally, we will be having our giveaway during next week's intermission. We will be giving away a set of Dispel dice. You will get to pick your set of Dispel dice. So be sure to be here, 7 p.m. this time next week. This giveaway is for the continental U.S. only. So sorry for all of our abroad friends. We love you too. What'd you roll, Duathi?
No, I rolled a 9.
On a
That's
what?
on a d20.
Oh.
It's on brand.
Oh.
You all have an amazing night. Have an amazing week. We will see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Nice, y'all.